The Willis Tower in Chicago as the Mariners' three-city lengthy road trip continues. Tonight it's the first of this three-game series. The Mariners taking on the struggling Chicago White Sox at 4-14. Happy as always to have you with us for Mariners baseball on Root Sports. Aaron Goldsworth alongside Mike Flowers, our entire Root Sports crew, welcoming you to the south side of Chicago as we take a look at the Mariners starting lineup.
And it's good to see D. Gordon. D. Gordon was out yesterday, back in the lineup today. He leads the club with 9 stolen bases. Mitch Haniger hitting 6th in the lineup. He has been the hot hitter. Has homered in 3 straight games. Ben Gamble will round out the 9 for the Mariners. Mariners lineup brought to you by Jack in the Box. Another look at Fulmer. Again, his fastball and average this year, 93 miles an hour. A cutter and changeup primarily from him. He will mix in a curveball with it. He has struggled with his command overall. This will be his 3rd start on the year. A look at the defense for Chicago. They are 14th in the American League. It's been a bit of an issue for them. Adam Engel will be in center field. On the corners, you have Matt Davidson, Jose Abreu, and Wellington Castillo will do the catching.
D. Gordon digs in, all set and ready to go tonight for game 1. Fulmer's first pitch, squib foul quickly. You know, Mike, you mentioned the command for Carson Fulmer. Looking at some of the numbers on this young right-hander, one of the things that stood out this year, and really for the course of his career, this has been a stable number, a first pitch rate of just 51% as a strike.
Mariners will be aware of that, and that's why I thought that maybe they'll be patient here in the early. Not for D. Gordon, they'll swing right away, trying to get on that first fastball.
Gordon back in the lineup today after getting a breather yesterday, although we did see him off the bench late. Now D a little bundled up today, as many are. 54 degrees at first pitch and windy.
They have a heater in the Mariners dugout. It looks like the engine of a jet plane.
I remember that from years past.
I was laughing because I was in the dugout having a conversation with Scott Service about it, and it's on the far end, so as far away from Scott as you can get. And I think maybe they'll make an adjustment with that. Scott's at the heater that he has down by his end isn't going to work very well, so they'll have to figure out a way to keep everybody warm.
And he wants to stand by the one with jet fuel running through it.
That's exactly right.
Because you remember, before the Mariners played what has become the coldest game in franchise history, this year 27 degrees at Target Field. I believe the previous coldest game, tied for it at least, was 34 degrees here back in 2013 with that space, or that space heater. That jet engine was much more needed. Out number 1. Engel in center field. 1 out for Gene Segura.
You would think that with the way the Mariners have been swinging the bat and getting healthier by the day, which is a great sign for them. And the White Sox, I mentioned it, 14th in the American League in defense, so next to last. They are last in ERA. You would think the Mariners are going to score some runs over the next 3 days.
Now, this is a pitching staff that has just been abused, especially recently by the Astros. The last 7 games for the White Sox, they have lost all 7. An ERA just a tick above 8. Tough times for Rick Renteria and the White Sox as they are in full rebuild mode. And for Carson Fulmer, you look at what has happened for him this year. His last start back on the 18th, just 1 inning. He threw 46 pitches. He went back out for the 2nd, gave up a home run, faced a few more hitters after that. That was at the Coliseum against the A's. But he pitched 3 days ago, an inning and a 1/3 of relief. Out to center, back to Engel. A high bound away from him. Segura starting to run towards 2nd. Throw coming in. Safe. And Anderson shaken up.
Yeah, it looked as if it was his knee. Hopefully Segura is okay. He is also slow to move. Good aggressive base running by Segura. Sure that'll be a base hit. E8. Going to give him a double. Good hustle. Looked like his hand was in there, no problem. Then hit the knee. Another look at it. Helmet right on the inside of that knee. Yeah, it's going to be a problem. Hopefully Gene is okay. Scott Service out at second base now. Well, Gene is up, trying to shake it off. And so is Anderson, the shortstop. Not moving the knee around. And the cold weather certainly does not help.
Anderson, a young player they've invested long-term in. Promising future. Good to see that he's up on his feet and looks to be okay, all things considered.
Again, that'll be a double for Segura.
One out, Segura at second. Brings up Robbie. Fulmer getting loose a little bit more. And last time that Fulmer was up on the mound as a starting pitcher, that was in it turned out to be a 14-inning, 5-hour and 48-minute loss in Oakland to the A's. So after a bit of a delay, 1 out and 1 on for Cano. Robbie putting up just fantastic numbers to begin the season.
A little bit of a tough day yesterday for the Mariners, hitting with runners in scoring position. Had plenty of opportunities. Ended up 3 for 16 on the day. But overall this year, they've done a good job of hitting with runners out there, hitting 280 runners in scoring position as a team.
Cano's had his way against the White Sox over the course of his career. The 0-1. Back to Fulmer. Now Segura caught between. Davidson with the tag. And then Cano at first.
Also a base running mistake. He thought this was going past the pitcher, and he was on the move thinking he was going to score. But Fulmer able to glove it, and by then he's in no man's land. Tried to stay in the rundown. Robbie ended up about a third of the way down to second, but had to turn around and go back. We have Nelson Cruz. Nelson over his last 4 games has been hot. 444 average with a home run. 3 doubles.
It wasn't that long ago, Mike. It felt like we were talking about Nelly working to get his timing back, and then the very next day there it was, and it stayed ever since.
Yeah, you're right. In Texas, he put a hurt on the baseball. 1 home run was an exit velocity of 113 miles an hour.
Which he told me today, Mike, that he thought that he was hearing some boos in Arlington, not just the cruising like we thought. Yeah, he thought it was a mixed bag.
No, I'm gonna stick to the cruise.
Robbie at first base, 2 outs, top of the first inning. They have the shift on for Cruz. Don't see this a whole lot against Nelly.
I'll be curious to see if we see the same defense when they have runners in scoring position, because as we know, Nelly will hit the ball the other way to drive in runs.
Well, Nelson tells a story, and we've shared it before, back in 2014, his year with the Orioles. Near the end of the season, the final month, a lot of teams in the division, the Yankees, the Rays in particular, were putting a shift on just like this against Cruz. And he just said, fine, I'll pick up some base hits the other way. And I went back and I looked at the game by game, and sure enough, his average went up about 15 points that month because of it.
He certainly has the ability to do that. I think right now with a couple of outs, he's looking for a pitch that he can hit out of the ballpark, give the Mariners the lead.
Just underneath this one. Delmonico in left field. Engel in center. Makes the catch for round number 3. Cano is stranded. 1/2 inning in the books. We go to the bottom of the first. And Mike, I know you're upset that Jack can't be at every bark in the park, but the flight would have been a little long for him.
If I'd only known, though.
This is should that be on TV? How about the lineups?
White Sox have struggled. 13th in hitting 228 as a team. Avisail Garcia hitting second in the lineup. Slow start for him. Just 225 with 1 home run. He had 330 last year. Jose Abreu, 274 average, 4 home runs, hitting third. And Matt Davidson leads the club with 5 home runs. He will bat 7th in the lineup.
Leak barely missing with his first pitch. Into right center field, base hit. Moncada making the turn. Gordon thought he had it, doesn't. Now Moncada to third base. And right away, 2 pitches into the bottom of the first, the White Sox have a man 90 feet from home.
That'll be a leadoff triple. For Mike Leake, this will be his 5th start of the year. 2-1 record, 4.5 ERA. 24 innings. He has 15 strikeouts. Opponents hitting 242 against Mike. His fastball again, 88-90. Cutter, slider, and changeup. And a look at the defense for the Mariners. Just saw D. Gordon out in center field. Good to have him back in the lineup. Robinson Cano has not made an error yet this year. He has really played well in the field. Mike Zunino will do the catching after having yesterday off.
Right away, Moncada at third. Here is Garcia. Now Garcia, for whatever reason, has feasted against the Mariners in 20 games against the Mariners in his career. 360 his average with 5 homers.
That was a great look. It's past the Mariners dugout. Chris Prieto, the first base coach, was in the dugout. And you were talking about the other day that the outfielders have that card And you can see he was reading it to make sure that they were all in the places that they're supposed to be. So cross-checking them, basically. He seemed to be happy. That's a good sign.
He and a name we reference from time to time, a guy behind the scenes. We see him on the road all the time and at home. This is into right field over Vogelbach. Two batters into the White Sox first. Chicago on top. And Garcia continues to hit against the Mariners.
Well, the inside out swing, running fastball in on his hands. That looked like a two-seamer, but it was up in the zone. It's the line drive into right, just out of the reach of Vogelbach. He'll pick up an RBI.
Well, the name we were talking about, Emmanuel Cifuentes, who oversees a lot of the video work for the Mariners, the video scouting. Emmanuel is the guy who looks at the heat maps of where balls in play to the outfield land for each respective hitter on the other side, and he and Chris helped come up with that card that we've seen Mariners outfielders referencing before basically every at bat, knowing exactly where to line up. Oh, to Jose Abreu. Well, it was a series win for the Mariners in Arlington to begin this road trip, Mike, but you look at the rotation, it did not exactly thrive. Felix gave the most length, 5 1/3 innings. Paxton 4 innings. Erasmo Ramirez yesterday in his season debut 4 2/3. In total, 14 innings, 12 earned runs for the three starters. Leake has been the guy to give length for Scott Service in the rotation.
Probably a good time to have him out on the mound. I would agree with that. And we mentioned it with the White Sox. Although they've scored early, they have struggled offensively. So you would expect Mike to get deeper into this ball game. The one thing that he is able to do is pitch and pitch to some weak contact. So he'll get some quick outs along the way.
Looks like one right there.
Quick feet. Snap throw to first. Here's a look at it. Just trying to inch off the base, and it's clearly out. Perfect timing. He was trying to get probably about a half a step further off the base, and perfect timing on Mike's part.
Garcia out number 1 after driving in the game's first run. Past Segura. 3 straight hits to begin the White Sox first inning.
Some pitches in the middle of the plate. Mike will make his adjustment on that.
Here's Nicky Delmonico, the left fielder, batting cleanup for the White Sox. Good stop by Zunino, ball 1.
Delmonico, 245 with a home run.
Past Cano, some seeing-eye singles here. Abreu into second.
Well, they had the defense swung around to the right side, but he still finds a hole in between Cano and Segura.
First and second, 1 out. Thanks to that pickoff move by Leake. And steps Wellington Castillo, the catcher. First pitch slugged left field, base hit. Abreu rounds third, he scores. Gamble's throw in keeps Delmonico to third. And it's a 2-run inning so far for the White Sox, still just 1 out. Well, today Wellington Castillo taking on Mike Leake. today by AARP. And you can see his numbers: 5 for 21. Couple of doubles, 4 strikeouts. Leake making his first career start against the White Sox. Remember, until Leake came to the Mariners late last summer, it was a National League career only for Leake with the Reds and the Cardinals. Early visit.
Matt Stoudemire out at the mound. Again, that last pitch was a breaking ball. He's trying to mix it up, but that breaking ball on the White Sox today, they've been aggressive on the fastball, the breaking ball in the middle of the plate. It's a good play by Gamble to keep the double play in order.
That brings up Yolmer Sanchez, switch hitting DH. Now for Leake, the first time in his career he's ever allowed 5 straight hits to begin a game. And now 0-2.
2 quality pitches with his fastball at the knees on the outside corner.
Gets away from Zunino. Delmonico coming home. It's 3-0 White Sox.
That will be a wild pitch. Look as if Mike was blocked out by the hitter, Sanchez. The ball gets away from him. Can't find it right away. And then by the time he sees it, too late. Yeah, he was blocked out by the hitter, Sanchez.
And to right field. Boy, the hit parade continuing. Now Castillo rounding third. He scores standing. 4-0 White Sox. 6 straight hits for the White Sox in the bottom of the first.
Trying to go to the inside corner. He gets it there. It's a little cut fastball that he barrels up. Stumbles a little bit. Haniger getting the ball in quickly.
Here's Matt Davidson.
Such a strange game sometimes. Mentioned it with Chicago and their struggles, losing 7 straight, hitting just .228 as a team, 188 with runners in scoring position this year. 6 hits in a row. Let's be careful with Davidson. Not hitting for much average, just .207, but he leads the team with 5 home runs.
Think about how long Leake has been a starting pitcher in this game. This is only the 2nd time in his career that he's allowed 6 straight hits at any point in the game, regardless of inning. And the first time since 2010 when he was with the Reds. To the gap and left center. D. Gordon can't make the catch. This allows Sanchez to turn past third. He's coming home and scores. 7 straight base hits for the White Sox to open up the bottom of the first. The latest by Matt Davidson, and it's 5-0 Chicago. D. a little shaken up.
We'll take a look at down in the zone. It's this line drive. It looked as if it was hooking away from D. Gordon, just out of his reach. Great effort. Take another look at it in our Primera Supermo, and the diving effort by D. Gordon just out of his reach.
He's still holding that arm. Here's Tim Anderson. Haniger in right field finds this one for out number 2. Davidson taking third base. And here comes the 9th batter of the inning, Adam Engel. And for the White Sox, they have scored significantly more runs this inning than in their last 3 games when they were swept by the Astros.
And normally you would think, when you look at the runs on the board and all the hits that they've had in this inning, that his pitch count will be higher than now 23 with that strike. But they're being really aggressive with Mike. Mike typically around the strike zone. They're ready to hit.
He hasn't thrown more than 4 pitches to any batter so far. To Seager, belt high, wide throw. Vogelbach stays anchored to end the inning. Well, it's a 5-run first. The White Sox send 9 to the plate. Move to the 2nd. Well, don't miss the star-studded weekend series May 4th through the 6th at Safeco Field, featuring Robinson Cano, D. Gordon, and the Mariners taking on Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, and the Angels. Tickets can be had by simply going to mariners.com.
Well, Aaron, the good news, there's plenty of time for the offense.
Now, we've seen it. We saw it firsthand in Texas, especially.
Yeah, Mike will have a chance to regroup in the dugout. Hopefully hold the White Sox down right there with 5 runs and give the offense a chance to get back in the ball game. It's something we were talking about in Texas, and when you look at this lineup and the way they've been swinging the bats, you're a starting pitcher on the Mariners. Just need to find a way to hang in there. And Mike, he's a pro. He's been around for a long time. He'll be able to do that for sure and make his adjustment. But they have a chance to get you back in the ball game, and they can do it in a hurry. Solid numbers for Kyle here in this ballpark. Especially the 8 home runs in 20 games.
Ball's not a fly here.
Especially out to right center.
Shift for Kyle. Kyle, who was drilled in the bicep yesterday, takes that pitch inside. Seager down on strikes. First punch out for Carson Fulmer.
88 miles an hour at the top of the strike zone. Looked like a little cut fastball.
Let's see what Mitch Haniger can do. One of the hottest hitters in the game right now. Has homered in 3 consecutive games. Went 7 for 12 in the recent series against the Rangers, the Mariners are coming off of. Also hit 3 doubles. Mike, you bumped into him down on the field earlier today, didn't you?
With Mitch, yeah, he's playing with a lot of confidence right now. He's really locked in. And
high out to right, Garcia drifting back.
You know, that's the one thing, even though it was a fly ball just in front of the warning track to right, that's the thing that's impressive with Mitch. You look at the home runs and the RBIs, but he's also coming into this game hitting well over 300 and using the entire field. It's not as if he's trying to pull everything and hit the ball out of the ballpark.
It's funny you bring that up, Mike. I have the field percentages in front of me right now.
Yeah.
Pull side 40%, up the middle just about 42%, opposite field almost 20%. So
that's pretty good, staying in the middle of the field. That's a great approach for any hitter, especially if you want to hit for an average. Stay in the middle of the field, right center to left center. You'll be in pretty good shape.
And I think we saw shifts against Mitch Haniger not that long ago.
That's a good point.
0-1 to Vogelback. We saw a pretty consistent approach against Vogelback yesterday, didn't we?
They pitched him inside the entire game. So far, it's been a strike on the outside corner at the knees. That last fastball in off the plate. Going back inside again. It's one of those things in this game. And for Daniel, he was swinging the bat well, hit a couple of home runs. Then the league's going to make some adjustments.
Lower outside corner, 2 balls and 2 strikes to Vogelback. Here comes the 2-2. Fair ball. Abreu back to his feet. And the side retired in order. It's out of the bottom of the second. Mike Lee coming back out. Mariners trailing 5-0. Of the second. Use your Mariners ticket to ride Link Light Rail to and from the game through June 3rd. Learn more at soundtransit.org. You deep dish guy, Mike?
From time to time.
It takes some time, deep dish. That's what I didn't know the first. You know, you think you can go in and get a quick dinner. This is rifled to right over Haniger. The hits keep coming. And Moncada is halfway to the cycle. He's got the triple, now the double.
Well, it just seems anything that is near the strike zone, they are ready to hit. Again, first pitch, middle of the plate. He lines it out to right field. Not too tough to figure out what their scouting report was and what the hitters meeting was like. Very aggressive.
Mike, you order deep dish, that's 45 minutes. And that's if there's nobody there.
That's why it's every now and then.
Here's Garcia. It was a 5-run, 9-batter first for the White Sox.
That's 7 hits in a row.
Foul ball towards Seager. 0-2. The last time out for Mike Leake, that was at home against the Astros. Struck out 7 batters. That was by far a season best over 6 innings. He's been able to get at least 6 frames in 3 of his 4 starts so far this year. That's the most in the rotation for Scott Service. Leaks 1-2. I think about this approach for the White Sox and couldn't help but notice for Leake so far, not just 4 starts, but still, when he is ahead of the count, Mike, opposing hitters are batting just .077 against him. When he's behind the count, they're hitting .333.
That's the reason why it's critical for him to throw strike 1 and make it a quality strike. And I think that's probably the reason why the White Sox, a team that had been struggling, as being so aggressive with him.
Good pick by Seager. 1 out. Oh, and Garcia takes a tumble.
Holding his knee.
That was well before he got to first base.
That looks like a hamstring. He's holding his knee, but the way he reacted, you would think probably hamstring. But in this cold weather, just about anything, but obviously in a lot of pain, and that looks pretty serious. Still on the ground. Back-to-back innings. Chicago trainers have been out on the field. Something grabs him about halfway down the line. He's running hard, as you should. That's actually probably 2/3 of the way down the line. And you can see Daryl Boston, the first base coach, calling for the dugout to bring some help out right away.
He's coming off an absolute career year, an all-star last season. .330 hitter a season ago, nearly 20 homers. Good to see he's able to put a little more weight on it.
Well, it's just a good sign that he's walking. take a look at the slider, which he threw a lot in his last outing against Houston. You see right around 80 miles an hour, but opponents hitting just 143, slugging only 286 against his slider. A pretty chase and whiff percentage at 42%. He has to be able to get to his slider. Good breaking ball for a strike. Looked like his curveball that time.
(102) Abreu. Crunched high out to left. Gamble near the wall. Been a leap. Gone. Number 5 of the season for Jose Abreu. (7-0) White Sox.
It's going to be a towering fly ball again. Its location. Middle of the plate. Great effort by Ben Gamble, going up as high as he possibly can. Well-timed jump just out of his reach. That ends up in their bullpen. You can see the two-seamer in our Primera Supremo.
With the shift on, Segura swung over. Number 2. On the first pitch, Segura knocks it down, or pins it rather, picks it up and throws to first. Castillo is out to end the inning. 2 more runs in for the White Sox. Abreu going deep at 7-0 Chicago. Safeco Insurance, find a local agent at Safeco.com. Do more. And by Virginia Mason Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Good look down Michigan Avenue. The hustle and bustle of Chicago.
Did you make that walk today?
I did, and it was a little chilly, Mike.
A little chilly.
Jackets were purchased. Bark at the Park night. Some using the dog as the blanket on a cold evening. And steps Zunino to lead things off for the Mariners' third. And the shift on for Mike.
Mike's third start, just being off the DL and looking for his first hit. He's hit the ball hard a couple of times, but still looking for the first hit. And you see the defense. They expect him to pull the ball on the ground and in the air.
Now Fulmer's next pitch will be number 30. It's not at the usual 100 pitch count. Might get to around the neighborhood of 70 to 80 or so tonight before he comes to his limit. 2-2. Couple of former first-round draft picks going at it here. High lift out to right. Trace Thompson has taken over for Garcia to the edge of the track for round number 1. The Mariners celebrate Little League Day on Sunday, May 6th when they host the Angels at 1:10. Thanks to Aquafina, all boys and girls 14 and under will receive an LED Boom Time watch inspired by the Mariners baseball crushing cleanup hitter, of course, Nelson Cruz. Tickets at mariners.com. One out for Ben Gamble. Mike, we've talked about the hype around Carson Fulmer because of his college career at Clemson, a top 10 draft pick by the White Sox. I was struck today when reading an article, newspaper article that was written a little while ago about Carson Fulmer. Now keep in mind, as we've talked about, for perspective, this is a young man tonight making his 9th career major league start. He has logged fewer than 50 big league innings. And this article just ripped him to shreds for his inability to throw strikes, for his lack of command. Is he better suited for the bullpen later in his career? Is this really a guy that they should have taken in the first round as high as they did? And I couldn't help but think, and this is not just about Fulmer, but for any young player, you know, sometimes it takes some time.
Most of the time.
Not everybody's Mike Trout.
Most of the time it takes some time.
Let's just take a breath.
It's a difficult game to play at this level, and you can go through a number of first-round picks that it took them a while to actually, one, get to the big leagues, and two, to stick and stay and be productive, and then eventually be worth that #1 selection. You're right. Not everybody is Ken Griffey Jr. In fact, most aren't.
Flattens out for Anderson. 2 outs. Thinking about the numbers for Nelson Cruz, and maybe it's not fair to compare pitchers to hitters in the maturation process, but Nelly obviously is a guy who bloomed later in his career. His first 3 seasons in the major leagues were partial seasons, and during that time he was a .230 hitter with limited power. Now he's the best DH in the game, and he has been for some time.
Well, I mean, you know, if you want to look at hitters, and that's a very good example of it, that it takes time. But you can also go right to the Mariners lineup with somebody that's as hot as anybody in the league.
Great point.
And Mitch Haniger, who's also a first-round pick, and it took him a while just to get to the big leagues.
I mean, he was 24 in high A ball.
Right. I mean, so it takes a little bit of time. And it was, you know, one of those things a couple of years ago for Mitch that he found something that worked for him, but it was a lot of trial and error. And now he's able to just run with it, and it's working terrific at the major league level. And I say he looks like a first-round pick to me.
Absolutely. Two and one. into the pitching side of things, if you want to talk about guys being miscast and starters who become relievers eventually, I mean, yeah, you can look at a guy like Andrew Miller, right? He's a former first-round draft pick. Andrew Miller, his numbers as a starter were horrific. I mean, they were dreadful. He has now become one of the most feared relievers in the game. Takes time learning things. Maybe you're in the wrong spot. 2-2.
Well, you keep it around the Mariners. Look at a couple of pitchers. One, Mark Langston. He burst onto the scene and was terrific right away. Randy Johnson took a while to find the strike zone. And again, it was some trial and error. And I think with Randy, it was more of him having a conversation with Nolan Ryan. And that's when things really clicked for him, and obviously a Hall of Fame career. And maybe even in today's game, the way it is played for Randy early on, because he struggled with the strike zone, 100 pitches probably it's been tough for him to get through 5, because back then he was throwing 140, which nobody would let you do in today's game.
The 3-2. Delmonico into foul ground, able to flag it down. Everybody looks to be okay. That'll end the inning. Side sat down in order for the second straight frame by Fulmer. Third. It was a 5-run first, 2-run second for Chicago. Gordon tracking this to center almost straight away. Now number 1. Well, Mike, time now for Built for Baseball, brought to you by T-Mobile. We mentioned those first couple of innings. 7 hits in the first, another couple in the second.
Well, the White Sox again are being very aggressive, and Mike's not getting away with anything. It's a lot of base hits, including that home run by Abreu. His 5th home run on the year. This is one of those games. It took him a couple of pitches to get the first out here in this inning. You can see his pitch count overall is in pretty good shape. And you were talking about it, Aaron, with the starters struggling to get deep into ball games in Texas and trying to help the bullpen out. Mike's certainly aware of that. He's going to do everything that he can to throw his 100 pitches today and hopefully get through 6 or 7 innings. Because even though the score is lopsided, his pitch count is right where it should be. It's just because of how aggressive the White Sox have been.
2-2. Davidson an RBI double back in the first. Zunino over for a peak, but it's out of play.
And that's a well-located slider. Davidson with a lot of power, trying to stay away from him. For one pitch inside, everything else away.
Another 2-2. Back to the mound, knuckles a little bit. 2 outs. And Mike, going back to yesterday, how about the efforts of James Pazos? He was magnificent. A career high 2 2/3 innings. And what struck me the most, you look at those numbers from yesterday, he faced 10 batters. He averaged exactly 3 pitches per batter. He worked very fast.
He was throwing quality strikes. He had good stuff. He topped out at 96 miles an hour with a hard slider. And for James, you see just the one hit that he gave up, a couple of strikeouts, but no walks, and was working ahead. You get him into swing mode and you're able to locate 95, 96, you're going to be in pretty good shape. And he was terrific yesterday. You mentioned you saw how much he had pitched. Probably was not available for today's game.
He worked in parts of 4 different innings.
Yeah.
Which in an era of bullpenning and matching up relievers, you just don't see.
And which in itself saved the bullpen because he was efficient. You mentioned it. He was able to go a little bit longer. So saved one of the other guys from having to come into the game. Really threw the ball well. It was good to see.
Two outs for Tim Anderson. Now towards left center. Gamble having to hunt this down. Anderson making the turn to second. Kicks away from Gordon. Anderson walks third. It's the second triple of the day for the White Sox, as everybody was hoping Anderson would turn home.
I'm not sure I've ever seen this outfield as fast as it is right now. It's another 2-seamer. You can see it in the Primera Supermo and the swing by Anderson. But it looked as if Gamble had a pretty good angle on that, and that ball just took off, and then they had a hard time picking it up off the warning track. This outfield is fast.
Adam Engel looking at strike 1. League ahead 1-2.
Starting to get a pretty good feel for that slider to the right-handers. Locating it on the outside corner at the knees.
Check swing goes. Zunino to complete things and in the inning. Anderson after that triple left 90 feet from home. We go to the 4th. Thank you, Angie. There's Gene Segura to begin the Mariners' 4th inning. All White Sox early. I was talking to Nelson Cruz today about Wrigley Field. Basically saying, hey, Nelson, Wrigley Field, that's a great ballpark. Really cool, huh? Really historic. The ivy's great. It's really green. Small clubhouse.
He's right about that.
Well, he is about half the size of the clubhouse at Wrigley. Home clubhouse got remodeled a couple of years ago. It's fantastic. Next up is the visiting clubhouse. Segura ahead 2-0 leading off the 4th. And a foul ground. Trace Thompson, who we saw just a few days ago with the A's, now back with the White Sox for the 2nd time. Taking over for Garcia, who, by the way, the results on Avi Garcia, right hamstring strain. Why he had to leave the game. Rushes it back 3-1. Popped him up off the hands. Castillo. One down.
Fulmer also in good shape with his pitch count. Starting to be very aggressive with his fastball. One of the things that's difficult when you're on offense, and especially when you've been swinging the bat well, if you give the opposing starter a pretty big lead, they relax a little bit, seem to make better pitches and work ahead consistently, and they will use their fastball on both sides of the plate. Just puts more pressure on the offense, try to get something going. Especially when he knows that one mistake isn't going to necessarily hurt him in this game. They'll have to figure it out. This is the 2nd time through the lineup.
Cano, fielder's choice earlier, looks at strike 1. Over into the shift. There's Moncada, short distance throw, 2 outs.
Moncada thought that was 3 outs there. Maybe he heard you. He was on his way into the dugout.
Channeling his inner Evan Gattis.
Understand that you had lunch with Nelson today.
You know, I did, Mike.
I heard there was plenty.
Nelly and I eat often together.
Like never, but anyway. But anyway.
We did dine together for a online video piece that will be coming out in a short while from now. Part of our ongoing series with Alaska Airlines. It'll be on various social media channels, both for the Mariners and #IFlyAlaska. And yes, I can't say that. I think this is unprecedented, actually, Mike. I don't think there's ever been a broadcaster go to Nelson's hotel room, pull up a chair, and eat Dominican Republic food.
How was it, by the way?
It was delicious. We had too much food.
Right.
I was really expecting high things from Nelly in terms of the appetite. He was eating light, which was very disappointing.
We had to play a game.
This is hit foul, 1 and 2. We had 3 whole snappers. Not a small fish. We had some braised oxtail, some rice, some beans, some plantains. Realized a little too late we had nothing to drink.
that was on purpose. I told Nelson, whatever you do, do not offer him iced tea.
Yeah, we've covered that.
Yeah.
There comes the 1-2 to Nelly. You know, it was interesting talking to Nelson about his game day routine. He said, "Yeah, I don't really get out much." And I said, "Well, is it, you know, you've been around for a while, you know all these cities,
right?
You've seen it, been there and done that." He goes, "No, I save my energy for the game." I said, "Really?" I said, "No, seriously, I don't want to walk around too much. I want to save my energy for the game." He meant that literally.
I'm sure he did.
Because I got an off day, I might go for a walk.
A lot of guys feel that way. It was all the way back to the days when I was a kid in summertime playing baseball, and my dad would always tell me that I better not go swimming. Stay home, get your rest.
High slicer out to right center. Engel glides over to make the catch. That's 10 in a row sat down by Carson Fulmer as we go to the bottom of the fourth. Save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by CHI Franciscan Health, the Mariners' official partner in health. Get your guide to living Northwest healthy at nwhealthy.org/Mariners. Here in Chicago for game one of this three-game series. And Yoan Moncada is halfway to the cycle with a double and a triple.
That's a good pitch inside. Another cut fastball at 85 on the inside corner.
And on the hands again. I'm like, I don't know if the answer to this is either really obvious or if there's not an answer.
I can't wait.
But if you think about the approach we've seen consistently from the White Sox.
Yes.
Swinging early and in their case making great contact. Why wouldn't the previous four teams that Mike Leake has seen done something similar?
Well, I think that they have tried that.
This is rocketed out right center field. What a night for Moncada. Triple, double, dinger now to begin the bottom of the fourth.
But I think to answer your question, some other clubs have tried that. But Mike typically is not just throwing strikes, which he throws a lot of, but it's the quality of the strikes. And tonight, and some nights it's like this, you just don't have it. You can see that ball running right back, probably middle in, trying to get it to the inside corner. Just didn't get it there, but it happens.
First time up for Trace Thompson, taking over for Avisail Garcia.
Some of it also may be something that typically I think managers and coaches get concerned about, is when you're against a team that has really struggled, you feel that they're going to break out at some point. And unfortunately for the Mariners, that's happened tonight. You know, it's one of those things too with Mike, when he's pinpoint, as you see LeBlanc getting loose, when he's pinpoint with his command, which he typically is, that aggressive mode of swinging, this goes out to center, can get him some really quick outs too. This hasn't happened tonight. Something we used to talk about with Felix all the time.
Right.
Clubs sometimes they're patient with him, trying to get his pitch count up. Other times they are going to be very aggressive just because they don't want to have to fall behind and deal with him when he's striking out, you know, the side time after time again. But if he's on his game and you're going to be aggressive, he's going to be out there for 8 or 9 innings. So.
Strike one to Jose Abreu, who homered in the second. They appeal down to first base, but it's 1-1 now.
For Mike, 62 pitches, 44 strikes. So again, throwing a lot of strikes.
Full count now to Abreu. And you talk about the White Sox breaking out tonight, entering this evening. Only the Reds had scored fewer runs in the game than Chicago. Past Segura. 3 for 3, Jose Abreu. Now the Force Awakens at Safeco Field on Friday, May the 4th, with Star Wars night. That's a tip of the cap to Han Solo. Kyle Seeger will be featured in bobblehead form as none other than Han Sego. The first 20,000 fans will receive this special Star Wars inspired collectible. Tickets at Mariners.com. Now Leake is done. 12 hits allowed, ties his career high. This just was not the night for Mike Leake. We'll step aside for this pitching change. Nothing White Sox, one out, bottom of the fourth inning, a pitching change. Mike Leake going just 3 1/3 today, Mike.
A difficult night for him. 3 1/3, 12 hits, 8 runs, all of them earned. Didn't walk anybody. The one strikeout, 65 pitches, 45 of those for strikes. So a tough night for Mike. He'll bounce back from it, though.
Our Beacon Plumbing call to the pen as we take a look at Wade LeBlanc.
His 4th appearance. So far, 7 innings pitched, 4 strikeouts, 3 walks. Fastball in the upper 80s. Changeup, his best off-speed pitch.
And he's worked multiple innings each of his 3 outings so far this season, and will be working multiple innings, no doubt, tonight once again. This is Nicky Delmonico, the cleanup hitting left fielder. Delmonico, 25 years old, young player in terms of experience, however. Played less than a full season's worth of games. Quickly disposed up for out number 2. Nice start for Wade LeBlanc.
He was able to get into chase out of the strike zone. Stayed inside. He was expecting it to break out over the plate. Didn't happen. 3 pitches to get that strikeout.
2 outs for Wellington Castillo. Now the Castillo era in Mariners baseball was brief. 6 games. That was back in 2015.
Where's the changeup?
Ahead 0-2.
He will throw the changeup at any time.
Still 0-2. 20 home runs last year for Castillo with the Orioles. A career year in many ways. Home runs, good average too, 282. No, mostly as an offensive catcher. LeBlanc's 1-2. Strike 3 called. Gets him looking. Castillo's got some questions. A man is left. We go to the 5th. Sox leading the Mariners here in Game 1. How about the rest of the series? Our CenturyLink What's Next? Marco Gonzalez up on the slab tomorrow for the Mariners, making his 5th start. Coming off a ton of strikeouts his last time out against the Astros. TBA for the White Sox. Meanwhile, on a Wednesday, more day baseball even earlier, 10:30 our broadcast begins. The King taking on James Shields, two of the more veteran pitchers in the game right now. Whole bunch of different start times coming up for the Mariners, including tonight. It'll be a little bit of an adjustment for the guys. Seager begins the 5th. Angled in center. Usually puts it away, 1 pitch and 1 out. Fulmer has set down 11 in a row now.
Let's see if Mitch Haniger can make it 4 days in a row with a home run. I think he will look forward to his next trip to Arlington. Karen?
I'd say so.
Yeah, I think he likes that ballpark.
If you were to rank major league hitters right now entering tonight by slugging percentage, Mitch Haniger ranks above Bryce Harper. He ranks above Aaron Judge. Now, to be fair to those two, who are tremendous young players,
do great starts themselves,
they have seen ball 4 a ton.
Right.
Especially Harper. They are among the game leader in walks, especially Bryce. Nonetheless, Mike, talk about the power numbers for Haniger so far this year. One thing to say a guy's got a 5-game hitting streak. It's another thing to say he's got a 5-game streak with a ton of pop. This stays inside the bag. Kicks off the wall. Haniger just keeps on churning. It's a 1-out double. That snaps 11 in a row, sat down by Carson Fulmer.
Talked about it earlier in the ball game with Mitch and using the entire field. First time up, he flew out to right field, and this is right down the line, just down into the corner in left field. Pick up a double.
Last time up for Vogelbach, Mike, you were talking about adjustments being made against Daniel, especially after one enormous home run that caught a lot of people's attention. And it made me wonder, we talk all the time about hitters using video, looking at opposing pitchers, looking at their swings as well, but especially against the opponent. But I'd have to think the teams are making adjustments against opposing hitters now faster than they ever have before, because they're looking at the video of Vogelbach in this case.
Without question, they'll make adjustments a lot quicker than they used to. And you know, the thing about it too is it's interesting because Daniel's aware of it. And even if you look at this at bat, okay, a couple of pitches away, but the first pitch fastball, the catcher was set up on the inside corner. Fulmer missed his spot. Now, Daniel may or may not know that in this at bat, because right now it looks to him that there's 2 pitches that have been thrown away from him. And what are they going to do now? Do they switch up, or are they going to try to come back inside again? And that pitch is inside on the inner half. So that's one of the tricky things with it too. And then the other part to it too is, while you're trying to figure things out, and this is something that Daniel talked about in spring training, is when you get those mistakes and they're in the middle of the plate, it's imperative that you put them in play, and hopefully put them in play with some authority.
The 1-2. Strike 3 call. Just barely clips the edge.
And for Daniel, we'll cut fastball that time. He thought it was down and off the corner. obviously not happy.
You can see the sleight of glove by Castillo. Speaking of a guy who does that awfully well, here's Mike Zunino.
If I was Daniel, I wouldn't have been happy with that call either.
Strike one to Zunino. Haniger out at second after the double. That's now a 6-game hitting streak for Mitch.
Well, it's interesting, different things that you do as a hitter. And for Mike, and I'm going to talk to him about it tomorrow, but in his first 2 plate appearances today, he's gone out there automatically taking. So what that does is when you know you're not going to swing the bat, it gives you a chance to really track the baseball and slow things down, and maybe that's why he's doing it. He's ready to hit now, though.
Yes, he is. Launch blast off time out to left. That is destroyed. Zunino's first hit of the season blows up an empty seat.
Well, he hit 25 of them last year, and they're typically not cheap when he hits them, and that wasn't. That was well back into the stands. And again, you go back to what I was talking about, and that is just an automatic take, slow things down, looking for his first hit. After the strike is called, takes the ball, and that's what I'm talking about right there. Mislocation. They want to go to the outside corner. That ends up middle in, and he hits it 3/4 of the way up the bleachers. Just tremendous power. You take a look at our Primera Supermo in the spin, and you can see Casilla having to reach back towards Mike. That is a mistake, and Mike made him pay for it.
I don't know to Ben Gamble. What a shot by Zunino. Here comes the 1-1. Kind of plays into the conversation earlier, Mike, of guys who just need a little bit of time. Think about Mike. Brought up to the big leagues very quickly, right?
First round pick. Yes.
High expectations.
But basically, and was known as an offensive catcher.
Absolutely.
Right.
I remember having talked with Mike during some of the struggles and talking to him about what it was like hitting in the SEC, right? This is a premier college conference, and a guy who was one of the best hitters, and just saying that you cannot even begin to compare the quality of pitching. Like, it's a completely different game.
It's funny that you say that, because and you're going all the way back to college, and that certainly is the case. But even Scott Service today was in the dugout and was asked about Ryan Healy. Ryan on a rehab, and I think he had the one game in, the other one was rained out, I believe, yesterday, and Scott wanted him to get some at bats, and the question was asked, well, how does that, you know, the difference between AAA and the big leagues as far as the pitching goes? And Scott said the same thing. He goes, it's light years away from each other, but at least he's tracking live pitching, and that's what he needs to do right now. But he said the exact same thing about AAA, which is the next level.
It's a rung below in the ladder.
And I would agree with him. Big difference. You have to give Mike a lot of credit, too. He went through some tough times to get to where he's at right now. It's paid off for him.
And, you know, I don't know how he did it at times, Mike, because you're right. There were some low points there for Mike. And outwardly, at least, to us, to the public, to the media, man, he kept his chin high all the time.
I think the one thing that probably benefited him was his defense and how much the pitching staff needed him And so he could go to that and get those guys when maybe he's having a day where it's a tough day at the plate to swing the bat, and he all of a sudden gets the starter through 7-8 innings and they win the ball game anyway. There's a lot that can help you out with that.
And he knew he still had tons of value. To center for round number 3. Mike Zunino going yard big time out to left field. We go to the bottom of the 5th. Tonight. Naturally, I was the Husky.
Deep dish.
It is Bark in the Park night here at Guaranteed Rate Field on the south side of Chicago. Mariners are on the board thanks to Zunino's first home run of the season. Yolmer Sanchez leads it off the DH. LeBlanc back up on the mound.
He was able to come in the game and pick up a couple of strikeouts. Locating his fastball. Has a pretty good changeup tonight.
And to center field, base hit. Leadoff man aboard for Davidson. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Seattle Mariners and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. The accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Seattle Mariners. Davidson, an RBI double back in the first inning. He was the 7th and final consecutive hit to open up the White Sox first. It's been catch-up time ever since for the Mariners tonight. Oh, 2. Mariners a series win in Texas before coming here to Chicago. 3 games here, then 4 games in Cleveland. Looks like some cool temperatures and some rain in the forecast when we get to Ohio.
And Wade LeBlanc doubling up on the changeup.
Another 0-2. Just missing inside. Just a little bit of rain. Long hold by LeBlanc. Another close pitch, 2-2. We talk about the weather earlier this season. The White Sox lost 3 games. Not losing like in terms of the box score, but losses in the weather against the Twins. Strike 3 call.
He just stayed on the edges the entire time. 3 strikeouts now for Wade. He's giving up the 1 base hit, but 3 strikeouts. Little breaking ball on the outside corner.
Now facing Tim Anderson.
Another changeup. He has the changeup working.
White Sox, in fact, have had 4 games postponed because of weather. The Cubs have had 5. And it was roughly a week ago, I believe it was on a Saturday, where the Cubs, that game against the Braves, they had an epic comeback. And Mike, they were playing in Antarctica during that game at Wrigley Field.
Was that the game that Madden said they probably shouldn't have played?
Yeah. It looked like complete misery.
Yeah, I saw some of that.
That was the game where the Cubs trailed 10-5 in the 8th. Swing and a miss. It pops out of Zunino's hand. Sanchez into second.
Pretty good jump. Goes on the first move. Ran on a changeup. Changeup that was down. Not sure that Mike would have had a chance to throw him out.
LeBlanc ahead 0-2. Seager by the lip of the grass. Anderson runs very well, but he's out. 2 down. That brings up Adam Engel. I mentioned earlier that the White Sox just finished hosting the Houston Astros. Astros came to town and swept that 3-game series, and hours before the game, talking to some folks up here in the broadcast booths in the press box about that series, the eyes wide open, talking about that Astros rotation. They saw it for the first time. Of course, Houston came from Safeco Field to Chicago.
They haven't slowed down at all. No,
not one bit. Line left field past Segura. Sanchez, who stole second, now tearing around third. It's cut by Seager. Throw to Vogelback. Tag. Not in time. Sanchez scores from second. And take a look at our Columbia Bank difference of the game. Yoan Moncada, Mike, is a single shy of the cycle.
And he's taking care of his business early. This is the triple. D. Gordon trying to keep it from going to the wall. Take a look at this. There's a double out to right. And then a line drive home run.
A single shy.
Unfortunately for the Mariners, he's also scored 3 times.
Brandon Barnes, the last man to hit for the cycle against the Mariners. Same year Mike Trout hit for the cycle. Another move. And of course, for Moncada, this is a man who came to Chicago with great fanfare. He was the centerpiece of the Chris Sale deal with the Red Sox. Moncada still just 22 out of Cuba. But obviously high hopes for him as one of the centerpieces of this White Sox rebuild. There goes Engel. Oh my goodness.
He actually hit him. Engel didn't see where the ball ended up. But Mike obviously did not have a good grip on the baseball. He hit LeBlanc in the back. I think it just skipped off of him. He appears to be just fine. Doesn't happen often, but from time to time. And Wade did the right thing. He ends up, I think he went down to a knee trying to give him clearance to take a look at our Primera Supermo. So he'll go down. And this skips right off of his back. He knows it's on its way. Again, Engel wasn't sure where it ended up. Robbie probably helped out with that a little bit.
Two and two. Mike, not only did you hit for the cycle with the A's in this ballpark, Mike, you had the first ever cycle at this ballpark.
Is that right? Did not know that.
You're top of the leaderboard. Close, a little bit inside.
Missed by much.
Engel at second, 2 outs. Moncada calls for time.
Remember, stop it first if you hit a double.
Strike 3 called. Moncada retired for the first time. A run in, we go to the 6th. Park for your next group outing at Safeco Field. Select from one of 7 unique group hospitality spaces. Customize your experience with food and beverage packages, private bartenders, and much more. You can plan your picnic now by going to mariners.com/groups. Wade LeBlanc looked like during the commercial break saying that throw from Zunino maybe grazed his arm a little bit. He's all right. That's the good news. Here's D. Gordon.
I told you they'd still be friends.
That could have been a lot worse than what it turned out to be.
Yeah, a little bit of a chuckle. You heard somebody in the stands. And if Mancana hit a double, that he should stop it first.
Yeah, M&M guy behind home plate. If you go through the historical archives of this great game, Jeff Fry of the Blue Jays once did that. It was back in 2001 against the Rangers in Toronto. You need the double, Mike. You just kind of throttle down past first. Or you need the single, I beg your pardon. You have enough on it for the double. You've told the story that something kind of similar happened to you, right?
Well, yeah, kind of.
I mean, you didn't execute it like Fry did.
No. No, I had 4 hits in the game. I had a home run, a triple, and 2 doubles.
Routinely to Mancana.
But I didn't really have the option at that point, which I don't think I would have. I know I wouldn't have. I ended up going for the double anyway. But
your dad would have called you?
I would definitely have had a phone call from my dad, yeah. Let me know that's not the way you play. Yeah. But I don't have a problem with it. If somebody chooses to, it's pretty cool to be able to say that you hit for the cycle.
I mean, you're right. That is very cool.
At one point, it was a really rare thing. I don't think it is as much anymore, but it used to be pretty rare.
I mean, you're right about that, how great hitting for the cycle is. And yet, don't we make too big of a deal about the cycle? Wouldn't you rather have a guy with a homer, a triple, and 2 doubles? I mean, you would. It's not even a question.
So you're all about the slugging percentage.
Yes. Just want that OPS plus up a little bit, Mike.
I was watching your son Jackson swing wildly. Now I know where that comes from.
Hey, he could still make millions. Just hit him far.
Hit him far.
With the weeks in between. Mike, there's a chopper. Mike, I have video evidence of the Fry cycle, air quotes. It's egregious. I mean, he ropes one off a bounce off the 375 marker in right center and just
tight hammy.
Just, I'm gonna, you know what? Oh, what? I only need a single? I'll stay right here.
I'm hoping then that the score was lopsided at that point.
A tied game down by a run.
Yeah.
Guys, it's for history. It's for historical reference. You need to stay here. Full count on Segura. One out walk to Segura. He reaches for the second time. That brings up Cano. Time now to take a look at Lowe's whole team together. How about some road batting average for your Seattle Mariners? Like 378 for Segura. D. Gordon just below him. Robbie checking in 306. Ben Gamble. Just a few games for Ben after being activated from the DL. Nearly 300. Mariners, one of the best road hitting teams in baseball right now. Hoping some of that will kick in late here tonight. Robbie 0 for 2. Now, I'm no expert, Mike, but I say Great Dane. Or cow.
Seems to be enjoying the game. See what Robbie has done against lefties and righties this year.
Delmonico, now Davidson, the third baseman, is at number 2. Oh, you'll like this. When I dined with Nelly today at lunch, this was a little after 1 o'clock, me thinking I'm going to break some news to Nelson Cruz, because Miguel Gonzalez was the scheduled starting pitcher.
Right.
Placed on the DL this morning, which I didn't learn of until, oh, I don't know, at 11 or 11:30 or so. And I know that Nelson is, of course, a film junkie and looks at all that stuff, looks at it most of the time the night before. In fact, all the time the night before. And as we sat down together, hey, Nelly, you know, Carson Fulmer's going to be the starting pitcher. Gonzalez got scratched. And the look at him, from him to me, yeah, I know. They tell me about these things. Thanks for breaking the news, Goldsmith.
You were surprised by that?
I just think I can help the guy out. I just want Nelly to owe me one. That's all.
It's again, it's where we're at in today's world. I would bet you even when I was playing, I probably wouldn't have known that until I got to the ballpark. But in today's world, these guys know this stuff immediately, which is really cool. It's another advantage that you have. May as well take advantage of it. The information that you can get, still has time to study.
The 0-2. Another thing too, when we talk about Cruz, Fulmer thinking that pitch is a little closer than what it was. Talk about Cruz and all the homework that he does before each game. You know, this isn't just knowledge from Nelson. We've heard from multiple, I mean, basically every position player, of how vocal Nelson is in those hitter meetings.
Yes, tendencies and what these guys like to do when they have runners in scoring position and all of that stuff.
Tipping pitches.
Yep.
Two and two. Couple of arms warming up. Chris Beck, who was just recalled today with Gonzalez going to the DL, loosening up. Luis Avalon as well, the left-hander. Strike 3 called. Segura stranded after the walk. We go to the bottom of the 6th. I really do. I'll get home field advantage on Silver Bullet Saturdays. Download the Coors Light XP Rewards app and start earning points towards rewards like Mariners tickets and Coors Light gear while supplies last. Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. Here's Clay's brother, Trace Thompson, who's taken over for Avisail Garcia, left with a hamstring injury. LeBlanc taking over in long relief for Mike Leake, who really scuffled tonight. 8 runs, a dozen hits, tying a career high over 3 1/3.
For Wade, an inning and 2/3, but he has 4 strikeouts.
Two and two.
Trace with the White Sox in 15, then to the Dodgers. A couple of years, started with Oakland this year, and now back with the White Sox.
Highlight of his season so far when he made the return to Dodger Stadium this year with the A's, as you mentioned. He robbed a home run of Yasiel Puig. Another strikeout for Wade LeBlanc. He's racked up 5 of them.
Good changeup, and he's locating his fastball. They start hanging out over the plate, and he will pop a fastball right on the inside corner. And tonight his fastball 86, 87 miles an hour. We had a little cut to it, but perfect right on the inside corner.
Leadoff man retired, now facing Jose Abreu, who has homered and singled twice. Check swing goes.
And quickly ahead again. $530 dogs here today. 530. That was quite the parade that they had walking around the field.
I knew you were getting deep in the weeds of analytics these days, Mike. Didn't expect that number.
I thought you'd be impressed.
And as we saw that shot up on the video board of Abreu with some little known facts of Jose, it reminds me, Mike, of one of the great times that you truly pulled the wool over my eyes. Was that a regular season game or was that spring training?
That was a regular season game. In fact, I think it was here.
Was it really?
I think so.
I think Abreu tees off again. My goodness, multi-homer game, a 4-hit game for Abreu. He came in with 4 homers. He now has 6.
Well, Wade hasn't made many mistakes this evening, but that was one of them again in the middle of the plate. The White Sox are not missing anything in the middle of the plate today. Every now and then you expect them to just hit it at somebody, but that hasn't been the case. Now 6 home runs on the year. And again, we'll look at the location in our Primera Supermo. Trying to go to the inside corner, ends up in the middle of the plate.
Now 10-2 Chicago. Here's Nicky Delmonico. Now, I don't think it's just me, Mike, but I think a lot of us play-by-play guys are guilty of never looking at the video board. Because it's like, why would we look at the video board, right? We have all the information we need right in front of us.
You've been here for hours preparing anyway.
Yeah.
Of course.
So Mike and I are doing a game one time, apparently here, and apparently a big boy game. And Blower Power dropped some historical knowledge on me about so-and-so being the first to do such and such since Stan Musial and Joe DiMaggio and everybody else. Really, Mike? You knew that? And then bus ride home. That was up on the video board.
Yeah, I think I hit you up on that probably 3 or 4 times in the same game, and you never figured it out.
Man, Mike is doing his homework. Delmonico, a ride out to left center. This will stay in the yard. He is there for round number 2. Well, good for you, Mike. It took somebody who really was paying no attention for you to have that much success. And steps Castillo.
Wasn't the first time, Aaron. It won't be the last.
No, I'm at least somewhat wise to your ways now.
Yeah, I would say that's
Anytime
true.
you say something that really impresses me, I immediately start scanning for large print someplace.
Now I just get a lot of help from the guys down in the truck.
Your other resource.
Yep.
Never seemed to say much to me. Castillo 1 for 3 tonight, an RBI single back in the first. Cano, who was swung over.
Yeah, through the shift. It's their night. Mariners have had the shift on a couple of times this evening and still picking up base hits.
Brings up Sanchez. And a girl over for a look, but a foul ball.
Aaron, speaking of home runs, did you see the home run by Carlos Gomez yesterday for the Rays? I'm going to take it that you did. What'd you think of that?
Well, I thought very little of the home run. I thought a great deal of everything that followed it and preceded it, including the kindling that he snapped over his leg.
Yeah.
We've seen that happen before for Carlos Gomez. Now with the Tampa Bay
Did he
Rays.
dance all the way around the bases?
You know, I don't know if the Ray Lewis entrance to home plate was the better part.
I saw that part, yeah.
Or him turning his back to Addison Reed, essentially sticking his tongue out his own guys in the dugout, and I don't know, flexing or doing some type of something or other. I thought it was
over the top a little bit.
Excessive.
Yeah. I mean, I know that the game has changed a lot and will continue to change. And a lot of things are just accepted now, but I felt like that was over the top, too.
You know, you look at a guy who, I don't think people have chastised for this at all. That's far too strong a term. But Francisco Lindor, who is one of the most joyous players in the game. And
has a lot of fun playing, and a very good player.
And we'll see him at the end of this trip. Shortstop for the Indians. When he has hit huge, impactful, meaningful home runs, you have seen that smile that lights up a ballpark, lights up your TV screen. It is for the joy in that moment. It is not to upstage someone. I think that is your difference, right? There's one thing to exhibit the joy and the enthusiasm playing as a kid.
All for it.
Cano right behind the bag. That'll end the inning. Third home run. The second by Abreu. We're through 6. Thank you, Angie. Oh, here we are, top of the 7th. White Sox in command of this one. Opening game of this 3-game series. Now, did the Mariners fan know that it was Bark in the Park night? Chris Beck, the new pitcher, taking over for Fulmer. Beck just recalled today making his season debut for the White Sox. He's been up here each of the last 3 years. First pitch strike to Seager. Foul ball to make it 1-2 on Kyle. He'll be followed by Haniger and then Vogelback. I suppose for the White Sox it was just a matter of time. You look at their rotation numbers this year. White Sox starters 1-10 on the year, an ERA just over 6.5. Fulmer most certainly in line for the win tonight. Over the shift into right field, a little too firm though, finds Thompson. Seager's out number 1. Join us in Denver this summer, July 12th to the 16th, for a Rocky Mountain baseball adventure. It's a memorable road trip experience. It'll be fun for the entire family. The Mariners, of course, meeting up with the Rockies right before the All-Star break. For more information, visit mariners.com/vacations. Haniger a double earlier. Tees off on the first pitch. 4 straight games coming. Mitch Haniger going deep again.
How about it?
Number 8 for the Mariners right fielder. Nobody hotter right now than Mitch Haniger.
Gary Hill on the radio side, who was doing the play-by-play while Rick Riz is mending, said that Mitch Haniger was going to hit his 4th today. That was his pick.
Oh, come on, how bold of a pick is that, Gary?
Well, I may as well go with the chalk. I mean, why not? But at least he did it, and there it is. Now 8 home runs. How about this hit? Had the shift on.
We'll go back aboard for the first time tonight. Back to the home run.
Yeah, it's worth taking another look at. He's been hot. Leg kick, get the foot down on time and barrel it up. Stay hot. Speaking of home runs, Mike Zunino, his first hit this year was a home run to left field, 2-run home run. Back in the 5th inning. Staying with the program, we were talking about earlier with Mike taking that first pitch, not making any effort to swing at it at all, just trying to slow things down and make sure he's seeing the baseball. Paid off for him his last time up.
The opposite way and foul 0-2.
Pretty good swing though. I like that that last pitch was right on the outside corner and Mike was trying to hit it the other way. His big improvements last year. Using the entire ballpark and thinking more right center field. Really helped him with the breaking ball. I think he's he hit the home run. He's still trying to get his timing figured out. Really good swing and a pretty good fastball at 95.
Ball on 2 strikes. And of course, Griffey tying the all-time big league record, 8 consecutive games with a home run. When you start looking at what Mitch Haniger is doing now with 4 straight games with a homer. Twice in 2015. Nelson Cruz homered in 5 straight games.
There you go. He's getting closer.
3 straight hits. We'll go back into second.
So a good night for Mike. Again, another pitch, middle away, off speed pitch, out in front of it a little bit. So strong, though, still lines it into left field. Team meeting on the mound. Take another look at Mike in our Primera Supermo, and you can see the breaking ball, the spin of it. Again, his fastball at 95. That's 87. What a good night for Mike.
One out, 2 on for Ben Gamble. Mike, you are one of a handful of Mariners to have homered in 4 consecutive games. Some other usual suspects: Griffey, Buhner, Alvin Davis, Casper Wells.
Casper Wells,
yes.
That's right.
Back in 2011.
I remember that, yeah.
Two and 0. Whoa, airmail home. Zunino in between. Now Vogelback. Oh, this is getting interesting.
Mike should just stay there. Yeah, it's over there. Well, Mike.
Vogelback retired for round number 2.
Yeah, well, Mike saw the ball go to the backstop, so he took off right away. And by the time he looked up to see that Daniel was not running.
And the question obviously here is, are both runners out?
Mike never left the base. I'm not sure what Daniel ended up doing, but they're talking about it right now. So they tagged him. I think he must have tagged both runners. Vogelback gets the base. He gets second base to go back to it, and then Daniel left the base and was tagged, and that's what they're trying to figure out. Is it an out or is it a double play? And they're both on the base, and a little bit of everything in this game tonight as they try to figure this one out.
I'd say so. Well, there's was something somewhat similar to this a number of years ago involving Zunino when the Mariners turned a triple play against the Blue Jays at home, involving some confusion at third base.
I don't recall that. Do you?
Yeah. There was a little bit of a traffic jam at third. Everybody wanted third base, and Mike just started tagging everybody.
That was a long discussion. The thing that's interesting to me, too, is while they're having the discussion, they showed the play on the big screen, and now they're going to call Mike out.
They call both of them out, and
now Scott Service is going to come out, and looks like he may argue it. He wants an explanation of what's happening.
I mean, Mike, if you're a base runner, if you're either base runner in this case, are you best just to both get back to second base? Is it a matter of him
you both
getting
get
off?
back? It's confusing, and it's one of those things where the infielders typically will try it. You're best to get back because you're giving up, right? One out there in that situation. That's why I told Mike to just stay at second, and then to ask the umpire before either one of you leave which one of them is out. And I think that's something that maybe Scott is arguing about, because he thought on the big screen he saw Mike ask which one of us is out, but we couldn't see what the umpire said. He had his back to us. So he tags Daniel. He tags Mike. Well, the other thing, too, is I'm not sure that Daniel ever touched second base. I think he may have tagged him before he ever touched second.
Is he signaling for a challenge here?
He may be asking Mike. He may be asking Mike if Mike asked him who was out, and now they're going to take another look at it. That might have been it. It is confusing, though, because looking at that second look, again, I wasn't sure. All
right, from the beginning.
Ball ricochets from the backstop right back to the catcher, and Mike sees it go past the catcher. By the time he sees that Daniel didn't run, they get into the rundown, and Mike does the right thing. At this point, there's going to be an out. What you don't want is for both of them to get in a rundown, so he just stays at second, and then he tags Daniel. And I think he tagged him before he ever touched the base.
And that's a critical part of this equation.
See, it bounces back. Yes, it is. And I couldn't tell at that time if Mike was saying something to the umpire in that, because that's something that Scott went back and was talking to Mike in the dugout, and then he came back out and asked again. So it's confusing across the board.
Look at Vogelback's feet.
That right there is not touching the base. This is the one he puts on, I think, and so he tags him out before he ever gets back. So it should be just a normal rundown at that point.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if in this angle you can tell the Vogelback's.
I think you could from the other one, though. His left foot, you can see that I didn't think it touched the base. It was the right one that he was putting on the base, but they're not going to change it. So maybe it's something that they were talking to Mike about, because Scott was pretty adamant. So he puts that right foot right on top of the base, but he's tagged by that point. But it was more than anything, it was when Scott, I'll be curious to hear what he has to say after the game, because Scott was talking to Mike in the dugout, and that's when he came back to talk to the umpires. So he may have seen the same thing on the video board, that Mike was asking him about who was out and what happened exactly, and that's when he came back out and argued. Again, a lot of things going on in this game. Strange.
Well, if you've ever wanted baseball without commercial breaks, that's what it takes. Davidson leading off the bottom of the seventh for the White Sox. I mean, I guess if you want to play it safe, you look at it from both perspectives. If you're an infielder in this case, you just start tagging anybody, any base runner, just start tagging. And if you're a base runner, get anchored on that bag as fast as you can and don't get away.
And ask for the help from the umpire.
You look at a pretty critical spot in this game, too, for the Mariners. Obviously, the score very lopsided, but with 1 out and 2 on, a chance to put a dent into things. Segura to his chest from his knees. They'll go back. What a snare at first.
That's a great play all the way around. Knocks it down, stays right next to him. We've seen this a number of times. He has a strong arm, but he throws it across the diamond from his knee. That's a long throw. He's on the grass. Daniel picks it for him. Nice play.
Here's Anderson. Blanc behind 2-1. Lined over Segura. Second hit tonight for Anderson. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to play Washington's lottery. And as we play here in the bottom of the 7th, 1 out now 1 on for Adam Engel. Every member of this White Sox lineup has at least 1 hit tonight. Many with multiple hits. 17 hits in total tonight for Chicago.
7 of the 9 starters have driven in a run, at least 1 run tonight.
Getting back to the struggles tonight of Mike Leake. 8 runs, a dozen hits, 3 1/3. Just a matter of location of those pitches.
Well, I think it was obvious with Chicago they were going to be really aggressive, and Mike was throwing a lot of strikes, so I think that's what you have to lean to. I think he's making his pitches on the edges of the plate. He was still trying to mix it up too. It was just one of those nights that they, and then on top of that, you know, you look at a number of the ground balls that ended up working their way through the infield. It was just Chicago's night and not Mike's. That's typically the case, though, especially for pitchers like Mike that have been around and know what they're doing out there, and all of a sudden you have an inning like that. Typically is location. But they were really aggressive.
Well, LeBlanc's had his way with the strikeouts tonight. That's now 6. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live at home in the office around the go with MLB.tv. Your subscription includes MLB at-bat premium, allowing you to watch live baseball on your favorite supported devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Just visit MLB.tv for details. Two outs, Anderson at first. Here is Yoan Moncada, a single shy of the cycle. Strike 1. into left. Gamble now comes in on it to end the inning. Through 7, 10-3 White Sox. Of the digital world. By Money Tree, proud to make a donation to Mariners Care for every Mariners win. By Jack in the Box, try the new Cholula Buttery Jack, part of the Buttery Jack family, only at Jack in the Box. And by BNSF, sponsor of the BNSF Blast. We look at Daly Park here in Chicago, 10-3 White Sox leading. We go to the 8th, and this conversation between innings, Mike.
Alfonso Marquez, the crew chief, explaining what happened to Daniel out at second base. And I'll be really curious to see what Scott Service has to say after the game on what happened in that play and why, when he went over and was talking to Mike, we all watched him. Mike was standing down in the dugout getting his gear together, and they had a conversation. Then he came back out to talk to the umpires again. So it'll be interesting what he has to say on that particular play.
Gamble, who was at the plate when all that went down, leads off the 8th. Teed off to right. Gamble looking for his first of the season. It's off the wall. Gamble stands up at second.
He'll take the double.
So a triple in Arlington, now a double here in Chicago. Well, you know what, Mike, if you look at some historic struggles in this ballpark, and let's just preface this by saying we love Ryan Rowland-Smith. Hey, Ryan.
There's Gary filling in with Rick Riz and Ryan helping him out.
Ryan, there we go. Yep. You know what we're about to talk about, Ryan. There it is.
I ran into Ryan in the hallway, and we were talking about this game, and if you can't laugh at yourself at times, you know, you have to. But Ryan was unfortunately somebody that gave up 11 earned runs in 5 innings. He said that the bullpen was shot.
In this ballpark.
In this ballpark. And he had to pick up the bullpen. And he was looking for help, and there wasn't any there for him. So we had a good laugh about that. It happens.
11 runs, all earned.
Yep.
On 11 hits.
How many home runs?
Only 3.
Oh, really?
He did strike a man out. Juan Pierre was the leadoff hitter that day for the White Sox.
Very good leadoff hitter. But he was having a good laugh about it, too. So it happens. It happens to everybody.
Paul Konerko, A.J. Przinsky. Gordon Beckham, now in the Mariners system, was in that game.
Something as amusing D at the plate.
Tomorrow on the air at 1:30. Will be a later afternoon start local time here.
The Mariners will look to Marco Gonzalez to get things turned around for him. I thought Marco really threw the ball well in his last outing. It's good to see.
Up the middle, scooped up by Anderson. Gamble into third. Well, Mike, you were talking about hearing from the skipper about that play in particular, and that resulted in the double play. Be sure to stick around after the game. Mariners post-game presented by Alaska Airlines. Scott will address that, among other things. Now, talking to Marco Gonzalez earlier today in the clubhouse about his last start, Mike, he said that for him, the difference maker was just simply, I mean, make it sound so simple, but it was just getting ahead with strike one. How big of a difference that was for him.
And they all know that. But it's difficult. It's easy to say that. And well, why don't you just go out there and throw strikes? Well, if you're throwing strikes in the middle of the plate, then you're going to get hit around the ballpark. So it's really being able to throw strikes using all. I think the big key for Marco also is he used his breaking ball and his changeup early. Saw his cutter. He used everything to mix things up. For one, keep him off balance, and then he was throwing quality strikes. Makes a big difference. And when you're doing that, you get the hitter a little more aggressive. They're going to be on the defensive once you do get ahead of them, and then you can expand the zone and pitch off the plate, which is what they're all trying to do.
Yeah, he mentioned the use of his curveball that you just referenced. An effective pitch for him last time. Thompson in right field, camps underneath it. Gamble coming down the line, chugging home, safe. Sac fly, Gene Segura. Awfully rare to say that Cano has not been on base with the 8th inning rolling around here. 1 for 3 so far tonight.
There you go.
Right on cue.
Beating the shift. We'll be happy with that. Well, he has hit a lot of line drives in the month of April. This one cued right off the end of the bat. I'm sure he's lined out a number of times, so he'll take it.
Two outs, Cano aboard for Nelson Cruz. They have the shift on. Davidson at third base handles it routinely. To end the inning, sacrifice fly, Gene Segura gets the 4th run across to the Mariners. Foul ball, strike one to begin the bottom of the 8th. Trace Thompson beginning things for the White Sox.
Number of things today that reminded me of Rick Riz. We showed Gary over there filling in for Rick. One, obviously, we're in Chicago, which is where Rick is originally from. The other thing is walking around today, I walked past Carmine's, where Rick will go and have lunch every day that we're here.
And dinner after a day game.
And dinner after a day game, goes to Carmine's. And yes, Rick, even though it's cold, people were still sitting outside. So you would have been in good company. I saw a thing, you were talking about the scoreboard, me stealing things. I stole something earlier in the game.
Good work. Surprise.
1969 in Seattle against the Pilots. First hitter for the Chicago White Sox was Luis Aparicio, Rick's favorite player.
Rico, he went 0 for 5 that day, man. I don't know what was wrong.
Now he got a hit in the second game.
Gary Bell went the distance for the Pilots that day. Past Seager. Into the corner. Gamble having a 100 out there. Thompson sprints into second base. It's a leadoff double. Fans, our annual Ultimate Fan Contest has officially returned. Root Sports will be looking for the ultimate fan in the state of Oregon throughout the month of April. So send us a photo and a story on our website at rootsports.com/ultimate-fan, and you could win a VIP trip for 2 to Seattle in September, a personalized jersey, and much more. You can find official rules by visiting rootsports.com.
Well, Rick Riz, Dave Sims, both mending, healing up. We'll see him when we get home. Hopefully listening to their doctors.
I would expect nothing less. Here's Abreu after the double. Healthy hack. You know, sometimes we think that the Mariners schedule is a little wacky. You look at the Pilots schedule from 1969. They opened up on the road in California, returned home for 3 games against the White Sox. Gamble making his way over for round number 1. Now we'll take a look at the Snoqualmie Casino around the league. Some American League scores. You know, the Indians winning that game off of a 2-run homer by Yonder Alonso off of Kevin Gossman, but that's okay because Kevin Gossman threw the major's first immaculate inning of the season, which really is all that counts.
To you it is. You search for it every single evening, see if somebody's able to do it. So
in the division, late tied up Rangers and A's. You look at the Pilots at home against the White Sox, Mike, and then they flew and played the next day. No, I beg your pardon. At home against the White Sox, then at home against the Royals. Next day at home against the Twins. Well, the day off sprinkled in there, so.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Ground ball out to Cano.
Maybe a rain out somewhere along the way.
What enough rain.
Good point.
Thompson into third. They had a roof, didn't they?
I think so.
Here's Wellington Castillo. Gamble ends the inning. We are off to the 9th. Last call for the Mariners. Northwest Fan Contest this season. We'd like to extend an invitation to all Northwest sports fans to join us on July 7th at Safeco Field. Receive a view-level ticket and your choice of an Ultimate Northwest t-shirt for just $19, or a main-level t-shirt, main-level seat and t-shirt for $37 when you purchase through this special offer. You can find details by visiting mariners.com/ultimate. Kyle Seager leads it off. Strike one to Kyle. See the shift for Kyle. Couple of home runs tonight for the Mariners. Zunino his first. Haniger his 8th, but even more impressive, 4 straight games for Mitch going deep.
Hey, we got a 6-run lead. Throw strike. Please. Yeah. You're going to get thrown out real quick.
Base hit into right field for Kyle Seager. Thompson off the base of the wall. Kyle turning into second base. Leadoff double. What else can Mitch Haniger do? He has doubled. He has homered. Well, bat here with Kyle at second base.
I think he was 1 RBI behind Jed Lowry, so he may be leading, tied with him anyway. So he has a chance to pick up another RBI if you'd like that, Aaron.
And 2 kind of unexpected sources leading. If you look at American League and National League, Javi Baez leading the National League in ribbies. Jed Lowry having just an incredible start to the season.
Yeah, he's having a great month.
Depending on what Mike Trout has done tonight, Haniger now just a home run behind Trout for the game's lead.
Come on, Berg. That's right.
It's a pretty good fastball, probably above the belt, out over the plate, and still a good swing by Mitch. 96 miles an hour on the fastball.
The 1-2. Engel now coming in. Right fielder Thompson makes the catch. Haniger at number 1. Seager stays put at second base after the double. That brings up Vogelback. Now Beck would qualify for a 3-inning save just to finish this game. 1 out, 1 on.
Daniel is 1 for 3. Picked up a base hit his last time up.
And we apologize for the fan with their cell phone on our microphone. I'm not sure if that's Peanut M&M guy or not.
Come on, Chris.
1-0 to Vogelback.
What are you at? 37 pitches. You can throw 50 pitches. Now throw a strike, please.
Now, if you sit that close to home plate, I mean, you have to dress to impress a little bit, don't you? You're gonna be on TV like all the time.
I can tell you like the shirt.
Go Kyle Busch. The 2-1. And Mike, it doesn't amaze me, fans who heckle, because if there was not a screen, a net, or a wall, they would never say anything to those guys. But somehow you're immune when you have just some kind of divide between you.
Well, I'm not sure they'd want to sit there without that screen. Get a foul ball. Catcher's gear, I guess, maybe.
Well, it's amazing the things that you feel comfortable saying when you have complete safety.
They seem pretty relaxed.
Two-two to Vogelback. Castillo, round number 2. Mariners down to their final out. Here comes Zunino.
Mike's had a good night. Picked up his first hit of the year, which was a home run. Well back into the stands in left field. Solid line drive base hit in to left field again. A pretty good slider.
On 1 to Mike. There's a deep hole for the Mariners to climb out of tonight. First 7 White Sox hitters recorded base hits. First time that's happened in Mariners history, where the opposing team first 7 batters have all reached via a hit. It was a 5-run first for the White Sox. They led 7-0 through 2.
And Mike's had a couple pretty good swings at the fastball. Behind the count 1-2. A couple of fastballs at 96 that are on the plate. Found straight back.
Highlight of this game for the Mariners, like so many games recently, has been Mitch Haniger. The home run of the 7th. 6-game hitting streak for Mitch. A couple of extra base hits tonight. Now a home run in 4 consecutive games. Another 1-2. Now this game is over. 10-4. White Sox win it. They take game 1 as the Mariners fall to Chicago. Game 2 coming up. Some late afternoon baseball local time here in Chicago. Mariners postgame presented by Alaska Airlines starts in 90 seconds.